dala noma yini ngifuna uthando udala ndilinde imane ngithi ndizendleleni seduze abengihlewa yukwababa mane ngiswela amazwi okumtshela imizwa yami enengihlezi ngicaba ngalosuku esizodibana ngalo ngizokubheka kanjani awebody ekwathi mfana qinidolo musukusaba ngekuphikisa inhliziyo avela umtshele njengendoda ukhiphe konke kusenhlizweni obixesha selihambile imilo usangikhumbuza ngifile bathi uthando liyamshintsha umuntu ibathi uthando liyamveza umuntu imilo isesenguwe ngifile bathi uthando liyamshintsha umuntu ibathi uthando liyamveza umuntu into ayiyo imilo
Good afternoon. Is it good day or good afternoon? Attention, please. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. All you know, my name is Avela Machavu. We're just going to be doing the last session for our program, the session that we're supposed to do it online tomorrow. However, we felt that we really need to not to pressure you guys tomorrow, that we just conclude everything today. So I think there was a, I call it online evaluation that was sent. Has everyone completed? Sorry? Okay, even the onliners, I'm not too sure whether they've received it on their side. You did share, okay. How much time do you want me guys to give you to complete it? Because it's going to assist us a lot. Yeah. All right, so in the meantime, with the people that have already completed, I think there are just few things that we want to find out from everyone about the program on its own, so that next time we can improve, and also we can see what we want to add on and how do we move forward. Basically, we will want a way forward from everyone. So everyone's input is very much important and is going to be taken into consideration. So I would love everyone to participate, and also we need to be very much brutally honest, so that it will help us to shape this science summer school. So I'm not too sure who wants to be brave enough just to unpack it. So what I wanted just to also pick it up and say that based on the objectives and the purpose or the mission of this summer school, did we meet? We did not. However, if not, what are the recommendations? If yes, yes, we are good, but however, if there is a however. But I just wanted that to be something that we can all engage. All right, thank you. Sorry, can I get the mic, please? Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I think in part we can say that some of the objectives set out, some of them have been met. But I do think that the conference, as great as it was, I think took away a lot from what we wanted to learn from the summer school, in the way that the focused learning that we had the other days, where it was specific. So it also felt a bit, we got the science part of it, but then we didn't really get enough of the diplomatic part out of it. And so I think those aspects needed to be, at least needs to be ironed out better, because the focused learning was the most important things, the scenarios and how it impacts, because we all come from different organizations, and how do we then utilize what we've learned within that? And I think some of it, there were a lot of gaps that we didn't actually address in that. I think the conference was great on its own, but I think it took away from the program of the summer school, because there was still more that we needed to talk about beyond from the theoretical perspective that we had online to the geopolitics that actually are impacting some of us as science diplomats. How then do we engage in it? Particularly, I work in the water sector where we talk about water transboundary. Those things, we didn't get to it in terms of how we're supposed to engage. So I think like they needed to be far more of a focus for the workshops, and us also seeing if we actually can implement some of the things we've learned from all the teachings we've gotten for the past couple of days. So I think that was the biggest thing I think lacked from the end part of it. But some of the objectives, I would say that they've been fulfilled. We got to also network, share knowledge, learn about multilateralism, learn about negotiations. So I think some of the workshops we had the other days, we needed more of it from the breakaway rooms as groups to also all of us engage.
All right, no, thank you. Is anyone want to add? I see a hand. All right.
Thank you. Yeah, the program was great, and I would like to add what my colleague said there, because I do agree that, you know, the summer school lacked or focused more on the aspect of science in the science diplomacy, and then lacked the diplomatic part, you know. I mean, like, I would have liked to have someone from DECO, like Ivan, present what goes on behind the channels of these diplomatic actions, you know. When South Africa make an, foreign policy, how do they engage with science, right? Do they talk to the scientists about maybe, let's say, climate change? I mean, we had like a nice round table the other day where we were talking about how human rights inform foreign policy. So we want to know that when they make, their climate change or climate foreign policy, how do they engage, scientists? How long is this? Is that going on for months for this scientists to make this research and then go back to DECO with this is what we have gotten, then you can go present it. So we wanted that background on diplomatic and how, one of the typology is, diplomacy for science. Exactly how does that actually, translate into reality, like examples like that takes place in, I don't even think that we mention SKA so much that we want, how did actually South Africa, get involved in SKA, right? So that was missing, and we were talking about science diplomacy, and SKA is one of the examples that South Africa is involved in SKA. Those, those channels, those negotiations, we wanted to know exactly how does DECO or SDI, get into those things. So we wanted to know more of that. And then I want to thank Peter for the simulation about, we wanted more of that, the simulation about negotiations in SRM. That was missing, from the diplomatic side. So I think that's what we need to look into. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I see.
Who's next?
Doctor?
Yeah, thank you. I want to say the sessions were interesting. Maybe for some who are starters in the field, they could have been introduced to the aspects of protocol, maybe, and again, some of the basic concepts, maybe. Yeah, thank you.
think first things first is we need to give you guys the flowers while you're still here. Thank you so much for making this happen. The schedule is really crazy between BRICS and G20 and the everyday work that you need to do. Uncle Trump is not making things easy either, but anyway, we're here. I think what I might be able to recommend that might be able to shift the needle is we need to get this program officially recognized. Let's at the very least get CPD points. And if there isn't a formal organization that can help us to do so, then it means that we need to form it. How do we help to create that? So that those that participate in this initiative know that academically it counts for something, so it allows them to be able to co-opt some of their co-workers, their bosses, to be able to participate. That's definitely number one. Number two is we made a list of projects that we think, or themes, where we could apply this. If that list can be brought forward and we can actually flesh it out a little bit more, I don't know, maybe there will be some sort of prioritization rank scale that we will use to say, hey, this one wants money, so let's move it down the list. But the other things where it requires only human capital and leveraging our networks, how do we create a dashboard and say who's opting in? How long is this thing going to take? But let's get started so long. Those are the two things that I think will be able to shift the needle, such that when we start having discussions around 2026 summer school for that new cohort, we as alumni would want to be proudly involved and say, this is what we're presenting for you to be able to give you a leg up so that you can stand on our shoulders.
And again, I want to reiterate that really well done. A lot of things came together, and one thing I can really salute the team on is how diversely you recruited from the speakers and the delegates. I think that's a hugely powerful effect, and even just getting all the people into the same room, that networking effect. I mean, there's some science diplomacy right there in action. So, and that takes a lot of networking and a lot of broad vision. So, congratulations. I think, sort of following on from what Curtis was saying, I think that we come to the table with a lot of expertise in our own specific spaces. And talking to everybody, I got the real sense that some of them are trying to make a bit of a career shift, or they're trying to broaden their horizons, but they're all looking to be active in science diplomacy, not just added as a string to their bow, as an academic sort of trinket. With that in mind, I think that the conceptual framework, building on that groundwork, we can all more actively do the next active step by thinking about what that, and maybe we're part of deciding what that process looks like, of what does that science diplomacy look like. So how do we interact? So one of the things that came out of our discussions and from our practical session is a real difficulty in distilling the concepts down to easily actionable, easily decidable, easily negotiable, that you can present it clearly. And that one of the things that goes wrong in science diplomacy is that you get caught up in the quagmire of the complexity. And everyone has their own interests, but you need to kind of cut through that to get real coalitions. And so the mechanics of how that negotiation works between the diplomat and the scientist and the policy person and the politician, and how that, like the protocols of the activity of negotiation, I think is a really valuable thing for us to take this forward into action. So maybe that just refining a bit what the previous two guys were talking about, that getting our hands dirty, as Peter mentioned, is great, but if we come out of it with a kind of a protocol, an action protocol, we are going to be more proactive in pursuing this. The other thing I thought, I very much agree with you. The conference said right at the beginning, what we want to do is get action out of this, and I think we all got really excited that there was a project to come out of this. And I think maybe in a session like this, right at the end of the summer school, there's a little bit of a brainstorming or an orientation about what that looks like. And an organization like South African Science Diplomacy society or something like that would be great as a resource to DIRCO or as a resource to NGOs or as some kind of a fuel for that. And I think maybe there's a space for a session, we touched on it, for what kind of organizations internationalize projects or are actually doing the science diplomacy. So I imagine DIRCO is at the forefront of that, but there's and we touched on that, we spoke about, you've got to know who is in the room and what you can do. And I think having a little bit of a toolkit around organizational resources or who do you leverage. You know, Ivan said you've got to have everyone on speed dial so that you can, you know, get the deal done while it's hot, while everyone's sort of on the same page. And I think from anyone who's going to be a practitioner of science diplomacy, that's a really valuable kind of mental scaffolding to have in your head. And I'm sure we all encountered some organizations here, we're like, oh, we didn't know that existed, or that organization does this as well. That's really useful to know. You know, so that's, but again, really fantastic. And congratulations on the vision of getting this going. I think it does break new ground, and every time you do something like this, you create opportunity for new things to come to you.
All right. No, thank you so much for that feedback, because I was just asking about the general conference and also talking based on the concept, on the things that now we say that they are the way the challenge is, and also things that we say that we have to need to move on. So I wanted just to get a feel that how do you gain this experience? How are you going to implement it in your side of the research? Now you have been in the conference, you take something that was so insightful for you, and then how, I just want to get that feel, that how are you going to implement it? Is it something that is easy to do now, or is it something that needs some collaboration or anything? But I just want to get the feel from everyone. You sat here for 10 days and then say that, oh, for example, for me, when I also attended one of the classes or the lectures yesterday, it was more of like, now the community is really coming out from the day one up to the last day, that how do I make sure that my research also talk to the people that are the community, and also from that, I should not undermine them. They are the one of the, I would say they are the principal, I'm the student. They need to teach me as much as we understand each other in the work. So I just wanted just to get a feel that based on your project as well, that you are doing at work or at varsity or wherever you are doing your research, how is it, how you connect, how can you connect the summer school and also with the engagement research, and just to understand that, I just wanted someone that will, yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So I'm with the South African Medical Association, and you know, since joining there, I realized that we're working a lot with the World Medical Association, and the World Medical Association was the one that was the voice of the medical or that currently is the voice of the Medical Association in the World Health Assembly. And one of the debates that I had with the executives was to say, how do we as African medical associations engage on those platforms, both in the regional WHO and in the regional WHO Afro engagements, as well as in the World Health Assembly. The question that we had was, how do we get to do that? Some of the processes one got to understand, but in terms of the activities, how we're going to engage each other, how we're going to support our ministers of health, and also through to discuss issues of evidence-based policy and bringing them up giving that African context to those discussions. And I think being here has helped me, connect with and understand. First, connect with individuals who are keen. We sort of have a plan. Also understanding how DIRCO can assist. Also getting to understand how we can also partner with even the HSRC and other organizations and academics in the room. in order to bring out, you know, the evidence that they have in their individual research and collective researches as organizations. So I think in terms of process, there has been a lot to learn, and it's been, I think, largely from the, you know, side conversations, the bilaterals. There's been a lot to learn. Thank you.
All right, thanks. See hand there.
Thank you for this opportunity. From what I've learned and what I've managed to do with the colleagues, I think during the previous up until today, 2 to 3 days, actually we started now seeing areas where we can collaborate at the country level and as well as at the regional level. So there is something that we are working on at the moment. So starting from around Monday, we just promise each other that we'll start looking at, because we are still fresh from the summer school, so we don't want to sit with what we've already gained and the next thing we just forget what was the purpose of us being here. So we just promised one another that from Monday onwards, we'll start now deliberating on some ideas, and then we write on the concepts, which I don't want to share because our competitors might be in this room in terms of ideas, but one of them is to venture into these collaborations, different institutions, and also one of my colleagues is here. So when we are going back to the office, I think one of them is to approach the leadership at that institution and say, we have arrived, the signed diplomats, and it would even be nicer, I think, maybe I don't want to ask too much, but it will be nicer from the HSRC on top of the certificate that we have received to say, dear organization so-and-so, this is to recognize so-and-so as signed diplomats. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. There's a red hand.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Dr. Jared Dube from the University of the Free State. What I can say is I would like to say thank you for this opportunity, because from both the summer school and the conference, I learned a lot. As one of the lecturers who's teaching community development research, and also as a postdoc who is involved in community engagement as well as research activities, I can say it's high time I take some of the lessons that I got from here and apply them to the actual ground. Also, we're in the process of restructuring our curriculum. So last night I was having a conversation with my HOD, just sharing with him some of the things that I learned here, and we were just discussing the possibilities of bringing science diplomas as a module to the research modules. And also we do have a module on policy analysis, policy development and analysis, and the community development. So some of the things that I learned from here, I think they will be beneficial for both our students and our community in Qwaqwa. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the leadership of the HSRC for this experience. What I wanted to say from the side of public service, I'm from Durko, and I see this summer school as, you know, it's long overdue because traditionally in South Africa, like my colleague who's in the water sector said, you know, it's like when negotiations were happening for whichever international agreement or protocol, it was limited to a few, and it was like based on sectoral. This summer school is a groundbreaking, episode, let me say, in South African social sciences and collectively in the sciences. And then I also want to say that the simulation process in multilateralism and negotiation, and thanks to Dr. McGrath and all the presenters, but particularly that session, was so important and relevant for the summer school, because science diplomacy was not a common theme unless you were like in the international relations space or within the DERCO space, but even there, it was very limited. So I can't tell you in words enough how much of a learning curve it has been for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people. Thank you so much. Eternally grateful for this experience.
No, thank you so much. I think it goes now you just lead me to the section there, to the point that I wanted to bring it in, that what was the most impactful session and why? Yes.
Good afternoon once again. So thank you so much for inviting us over down this side and also enjoying with everyone else. So first of all, I think the most impactful thing for me was meeting people from different backgrounds, people from different areas, and also establishing contacts. That was the most important thing for me. So soon after, I think what I would then describe as the most impactful thing for me was understanding the framework of engaged research. So for us as engineers back home, we normally offer solutions to people that are outside what people really need. So most of the times we then realize it at the end when we're doing maybe opportunity cost or cost of lost opportunity, something like that. So in my view, I think the panel or the session that delayed me the most to come and receive my certificate was actually impactful. So I couldn't leave because I was experiencing an issue of, how security is improved in a society due to engaged research. Communities meeting, different ethnic societies, different, tribes, different, backgrounds. But then, that central role of people meeting improved security in that society. And sometimes the solution we come with as engineers to provide security in a society is devoid of what that society really requires. So for me, that was the most impactful thing. And understanding co-creation as a methodology was also quite impactful because I receive a lot of business proposals that are devoid of, the touch from people in that society where that business is going to be. So if I would give you an instance of, I'm doing rural industrialization, I'm going to offer a solution to these marginalized people that is not even what they needed in the first place. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to solve unemployment because they're still going to look at it as a white elephant or gray elephant or green elephant, whatever, but they're not going to be, involved or would not want to be part of it. So for me, the most impactful thing was engaged research, co-creation. I think I'm going to take home quite a bunch. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon. For me, what was very impactful was from the start, when we start with the online courses, where we get introduced to science, diplomacy, science in diplomacy, science for diplomacy, diplomacy, knowledge diplomacy. That for me, because it was the first thing to hear the terms. So it was very, it makes me feel like I just want to be a diplomat somehow. And then learning about how to integrate that with the new world that we are in on AI also. So it was very impactful. The simulation, I feel like it even brought out what I have learned throughout the online session. And I wanted to do more on simulation, where I feel like we could have put more cases, especially on African contexts, on what is happening in real life or in real time in Africa, and how can we negotiate that through what we have learned as science, or maybe looking at the case and determine whether that case is science for diplomacy or is diplomacy for science. But the issue is, when we integrate the engagement research, I get to learn the importance of community co-creation, co-design as a tool to do your research, and that to me also come to issue of not only as a tool of research, come to issue of negotiation. How do you negotiate with the community at the community level? And maybe one thing that I find it was very missing, I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand before, was the issue of a policy. I never get a scenario where a research through maybe co-creation or co-design reach to a place where it changes the policy, because that's what I want to know. And I believe, like from Human Science Research Council, somehow some of us as biomedical scientists, we need to know the steps as to how do one now get to follow or maybe look at your research and where you are. How do you get to that policy amendment? Because that's also form part, I think, and parcel of science diplomacy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. For me, what I've learned since I'm working for NRF post-restructuring, I was placed at International Guns and Partnership. So I could not understand the geopolitics, because we will sign a memorandum of understanding, and then our executive will tell us about international partners who don't want to sign unless we address certain issues. At least post after this conference, now I understand the link between science diplomacy and research administration and negotiation. And one of the interesting about the science engagement is in recent times at NRF, we emphasize the issue of science engagement and social impact, especially when we draft our call. Our line managers will always encourage us in our scorecard to put societal impact and science engagement. At least now, after this conference, I understand the two: what is science engagement and what is societal impact. You can't just do research in the lab, but your research has to benefit the community. That's what I've learned, and I think that's what I will share with my panelists in the next round when I am releasing some calls. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here, even though I came terribly late, but I understand it's better to be late than never. One of the parts that stood out for me so much was during the online session, the first 3 days, it gets to whet my appetite to be here, because as a matter of fact, I only see science diplomacy on LinkedIn, but I've never had a course or in-depth study on this thing, despite having a background in international affairs and diplomacy, you know. But coming to the online program, I learned the involvement of science in diplomacy and also diplomacy in science. So the part that stood out for me was our breakout session in, excuse me, I think Barcelona. I can't remember our team, you know. Yeah. So we get to talk about community involvement, you know, and to foster collaboration. So based on what I do around in our place there in disaster management, where we come in to provide humanitarian assistance for vulnerable communities. I get to see how you can work with the local community people. We understand that they are part of your stakeholders. So I've learned so much about that, and what I could take from the conference is how researchers can have, or how policymakers rather, can have the mindset of researchers, because it will help you bring out impactful outcome. Then the part that stood out, though I'm going to look up for more of our study materials on this engage research. Like one of the panelists said this morning, that a whole lot of us only look at giving credit to ourselves, our work, but we don't get to see the collaborative effort of others. So what I've learned so much from this session, I'm able to participate today, is the need for collaboration. And also, I'm so grateful for the brief sessions I've had to network and share with people. I've met people from different spaces. Like I'm the climate change and disaster management. So I've learned from different people. And as a matter of fact, I must give credit also to the organizers for the recruiting process, bringing people from different parts. As a matter of fact, I like to find myself in a room that makes me so small because I get to be challenged by the people there, your experiences, your expertise, your knowledge. You know, it will be a springboard for me to get to the next place. So when I interact with people, everybody just hides their profile, hides their everything. We're just like a family. We had extra time snapping picture. We had a good time at the table. So it's one good thing I have learned. I've seen, as a matter of fact, I feel at home like we are a family already, which we are. Thank you.
All right, no, thank you so much. Is there anyone? Okay, I have a hand here.
Connie and the team, I don't know if I'm going to get you guys on hot water, but it's an offer. You can accept or decline.
Okay.
On behalf of BRICS, I'd like to propose that we establish a BRICS Plus Science Council. I'll personally champion this particular position. I've had a couple of discussions with DDG Dan du Toit on this previously, and I've also presented it to the DSTI Science Academy. And it is something that is on the table, but has not yet been formally signed off. If this is something that works for the broad mandate and objectives of what the science diplomacy should achieve, I think it's an instrument that is well within our reach to be able to put on the table by the end of the tax period. So let's see, end of February 2026, is this feasible or not? Thanks.
Okay, we have taken the notes. All right, I see the hand over there.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Inga Kleinans from Sophokum Mkhatha Health Sciences University, medical doctor and public health medicine physician. I'm not going to reiterate what all my colleagues already said because I share all their sentiments, but I just want to say from my side that what I would promise to take away from this is to make sure that there's harmonization in the work that I do, and not just from a health perspective, but to make sure that we start doing cross-cutting research so that we understand complex issues in more simple ways. And so I'll use this cohort to extend calls and opportunities as much as I can so that we have collaboration from different countries to come up with those solutions that we need for our continent by our continent. So that's just my promise, to use this cohort to work together as scientists and diplomats to get this into the policy making space where it actually trickles down into the community with a local impact. Thank you.
All right, no, thank you so much. Dr. Soban, how much time do I have? 30 minutes? Okay, because now I want us just to check to see how can we suggest the improvement of the program. So I'm not sure whether it's going to take us 15 minutes. You say 15:30? Because I don't see anyone from online. All right. Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you, colleagues. My name is Ivan Fossler from DERCO. Firstly, again, thank you very much for all the organizers and everybody that works so hard to get this done. I listened to everybody's input on more diplomacy, more negotiations, etc. Just a quick input on that. Conference diplomacy is a very specialized field. It's something I think you do need, but it's not something you can do in a few hours. It needs a lead up of needs a lead up of technical ideas, and then of course a lot of practical work. So that even at DERCO is a week's, you might bring it down to 3 days. But then if you do that, everybody's angry at each other. So the point is, I understand that, but you maybe look on UN systems where it's free. You can actually learn conference discipline, and maybe a shorter thing we can add later. And then also the issue of some more diplomacy practices. I do understand when it comes to protocol, because when you go into these environments of people from all over the world, a little bit of at least conference protocol or general protocol might help, that you don't by accident step on somebody's toes and you didn't even know it. We've all done that, been there, done that. Or shake somebody's hand you shouldn't have. Secondly is, you asked about the reach. How do we reach further? I think we have to find a system where we can, because it's extremely expensive to bring people here. And how the HSRC managed to do that, and so many, I must take my hat off to you. But on the screen behind you, we have 60 or 70 people. And how do we make and how do we extend the reach of something like this? More by actually adding value and real participation for the people online. I think they're quiet, and I really hope they do put their hands up. But the point is, what was their experience? Because I know there were some link issues, but we really need to hear from them. And so if we want to extend it and save you some money, we really need to get a kind of online classroom that is effective, where they can also participate. I know where it comes is the cost will be more in videography and two-way or conference rooms with actual two-way communications, but that might in the end be cheaper than flying out so many people and hosting them. Not that we don't mind coming to the hotels. Huh? I'm a single guy, and free food is always nice. I don't have to cook for myself. So, but that is just the way that I think. And also, what you call it, we have CPDs. So science diplomacy, this is just a taste. But maybe along the way we can do CPDs, continuous professional development things. We have them at DERCO, and I know you have, where the group or the alumni can suggest small 1 day or half a day online intense things where we just sit in and we do CPDs. Just to keep our sharp and focus on smaller bites, you know, not this. This was an overview to create specialist generalists, and you can go tell your own bosses you're a science diplomacy, now specialist generalists. Just don't say specialist, because you're not that yet. So let the point, so I don't know if you agree that there is a lot of small bites that we can add to add value to this. And maybe we should apply amongst BRICS. They can also make the small bites and tell us in specialized things. This is coming up for especially our scientists and our diplomats. BRICS has got, they have a lot of things that goes on, and the politicians and the diplomats are so busy, they're not the ones who are going to do it. So if the business forum, we need training in this, we need alert in this, science as business as well as the diplomats or the officials, they can say, let's co-host CPDs with us, with yourselves and them and any others. The academic institutes, I was so happy to hear that Free State is thinking of putting a module. All the other universities should do that. Why not? It's not the most difficult thing to do. These universities should teach their scientists how to communicate. Because, you know, it's like a good accountant, they sit in the lab counting the beans. But it's the man that's the marketing guy that makes the money, even though he's the least educated one from everybody. So we need to learn, teach our scientists. Even though it's hard, there might be introverts, but you get high-performance introverts, just to get out there a little bit and communicate in a way that we understand. So thank you, and again, we really love this, and we hope it becomes a regular thing. I don't know about every year, but once in a while. But in the meantime, I suggest do some CPDs.
All right, no, thank you so much. Any suggesting improving the program? Sorry? I'm saying any suggestions to improving the program? Yes.
There's just one thing, and especially now during these breakaways and things, is I think the real value is in exchange, is collaboration. So the program was extremely dense. There was maybe in the breakaways too many speakers. I know it's hard to pick who, because in the end, the time that you had, there was so little time for people to actually ask questions and get replies. It was very dense. I don't know in the breakaways I was or the others was the same. So maybe a slightly less speakers and allow more time for interaction.
Yeah, I'm the one that switched the light off so that you don't see my face. I want to say, and the question that you are asking, Dr. Majabu, is how can we enhance the program?
Yes, for the
And I want to say to my colleagues as well, from our side as the organizers, one of the things that we realized is that from other sectors, we want everybody to be here. And as a result, you have 3 people nominated from the same country. And if that is done in person, then it becomes a bit of a problem. And so I think what I would like us to advise ourselves as the organizing team is maybe to move in the direction that Ivan is talking about, making this 100% virtual course with a smaller number of people and a smaller number of topics as well. I found that the program itself is dense, especially the physical program. And at some point around the day, people lose interest, they are tired, they disappear. That becomes natural then for the program. And there are too many topics to deal with, I think, in one's headspace, because we wanted to introduce people to everything. So I'm saying to Ivan and to Dr. Mzi in the future iterations of this program, we might want to space it a little bit longer, maybe say 3 sessions, online sessions a week for the next 3 months, something of that sort, and have a longer term CPD program, but fully online. And the physical one was very difficult to organize, in my opinion, and I was mostly an observer in the logistics, but it's not something that I think we should do a repeat of if I was to have a say in it. Thank you.
Hi everybody, and thanks especially for the kind remarks for the Dirty Hands session. I enjoyed it too, so thank you for your involvement in that. How can we improve? I think we've made a good start. Congratulations to all the organizers. Nothing is ever perfect on its first iteration. We know that. We can always improve. And a couple of things have been mentioned. Perhaps presentations on how science does get into the policy discussions and change policy, and some examples of that. And the other one, what was missing, or at least I don't remember seeing it, was the science advisory mechanisms that exist in different countries. I mean, many countries have evolved or developed their own. They can be quite different, but what it does exist, what might work best. If your country doesn't have a formal science advisory mechanism to the Prime Minister, to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, how might it work looking at other countries, in the region especially. This is something that my other organization, IAP, looked at in the South Asia region with the Sri Lankan Academy of Sciences. And they produced a report. I can share that. There'll be some examples, and actually they'll be discussing that at the science diplomacy meeting in Sri Lanka in 2-3 weeks' time. So if that's available to watch live stream, I can share that link as well. The other thing that we came into this, when we do our science diplomacy courses the last few years, we use a participant pair model. So we pair a scientist with somebody from government, somebody from diplomacy, typically from the same country. We have them follow through the course together. We discussed that, I remember at the beginning of our planning. That pairing model finished up as groups of 5, more or less 5. And possibly we did not focus on those groups enough, getting those groups engaged with each other. Maybe that happened sort of outside the classroom situation, I think, but really trying to build links, you know, designing who should be in those groups, and designing some work and some promises. I mean, when our pairs go away, they leave us with a one-page document of what they are going to do next. And something like this, I mean, ideas have sprung up already. We hear people are activated, which is great, but sort of formalizing that process somehow into the schedule of the whole workshop.
Just a quick one. I guess from the organizer's point of view and from being hosted from our side is also different. I would just like to reiterate what Dr. is from saying. Being here physically and the kind of links that we've built, the networking here, I think it's one of the highlights, at least for me. Diplomacy thrives a lot on networking. And I know from the networks I've gotten, there's so much that will come out of it. And I fear that when we go online, we may not interact as much as we have and not share ideas and network as much.
Thank you. Doc, I think if we go the route that you've just mentioned of purely online, I think we'll be shooting ourselves in the foot from the foundation of the good work that we have done. Remember, this was Science Diplomacy Summer School 101. It is the first ever that I think all the departments that are involved in the diplomacy aspect of the DSI have come together and put together. And I think this is the reason why the DSTI has formed an engine of the Science Diplomacy Capital for Africa that can be driving this mission. In terms of capital, we've got NRF, we've got ASAP, we've got HSRC, we've got CSIR, we've got TIA. These are the institutions that we can use to get the capital for us to at least be hosting a class like this once a year or once every 2 years. Because what I've seen being traveling, there is a AAAS, which happens in the US for at least once a year. It's a science diplomacy class. There is Geneva, JESTA. They also do have a science diplomacy class once a year. And so for us as Africans, we didn't have this platform. And now that this platform is coming together, I really think we need to really get our executives to sit down and say, from each institution,
what is it that we can mobilize in order for us to be able to leverage on the good foundation that this platform has formed. Diplomacy strives on interaction. That is, it strives on interaction. So if we are to go purely online, I don't think what we really want to achieve, we would achieve. Remember, what we are looking to achieve is to creating a space for policymakers, for researchers, for academics, for us to understand each other in order for us to be able to shape the policies of Africa, the policies of government, and advise government. That's what we want. We want you as a scientist and me as a policymaker, when we talk, we should be able to talk in a way that we understand each other. Because right now, the gap is there between policymakers and the scientists. It's huge. So this tool is meant to drive that gap, to say, how do we interact? How do we bridge this tool, this gap? So I think, and from my overall overview, I would say this went absolutely perfect. For a first time, first ever, with all the organizers, with all the institutions, we came together and we put this. I think we did absolutely great. Thank you.
There's the mic.
So when you say there is capital, and you mentioned DSTI, SDCFA, you mean human capital or financial capital?
I mean financial capital, Doc, because the science diplomacy capital is a DSI engine that the DSI puts money for us to be able to drive diplomacy. On a yearly basis, this engine receives money. And as a result that we've been doing this for the past 3 years now, there's also like institutions like JESDA that are giving us capital for us to be able to drive this beyond only South Africa, because we are saying this is for Africa. So I genuinely believe there needs to be that strategic discussion in that level, and then we can be able to drive this. Now there will be the first ever World Science Journalism Conference that is happening through the Science Diplomacy Capital. And it's putting together all the journalists of the world, the science journalists that is. And Science Diplomacy, DSTI, is the one that is funding that. So that's why I say there is capital that can be leveraged for us to do what we want to do, to bridge the gap that we are looking to do. Thank you.
All right. No, thank you so much. I think HSRC, you have captured everything? Okay. All right. I think on my side, just to summarize what has just been, we've been doing this afternoon, is based on it was based on the overall, of which everyone did actually like the idea of science diplomacy, of which, however, it was fully packed, since it was combined now with the engaged research. So then the suggestion will be like for us to kind of like ease in terms of the program, making maybe that particular program, particular speakers or session to be longer, so that the engagement basically to happen, not to rush on time. And then in terms of the online process, then I think that you have to sit with that, whether it's going to be the same way we did it, having the 3 days online and physical, or it's just going to be online, or it's just going to be physical. That I'm just going to leave it to you, ma'am. Thanks. And then also one other thing that also came strongly is that exercise, that it was only one exercise that we have, that we really wanted to engage. So we need more of them, of the case studies, but the case studies that are very much practical to the current situation that we are facing. And then also one point that was also been raised, that how can we make sure that the program get those CDP points? I don't know who can address and assist us on that. And also, we had the themes. Remember then the last exercise that we have brought all the themes. Then now it means that now we have maybe kind of like tailor-make our 2026 based on the themes that we have unpacked them, but they will also assist us on that one. And then one thing that I also like with this conversation or this session, that it also brought up that people have already started to collaborate among themselves. Just like you have already have the concept that you're gonna be starting on Monday with your team. However, we are so grateful for that, and also what you just mentioned now, that you and your HOD in the UFS, that you are starting to think about introducing the science diplomacy. So it was really strongly, we agreed that kind of like advice basically that how about all the university can start thinking about bringing in the science diplomacy. And then in terms of the decor, it was more of them coming up and do the presentation just to get the fundamental of the science diplomacy. I think I've touched based on this, yes. I didn't get it correctly, the BRICS one. Yes, I didn't get it, yeah, 100% the.
For BRICS, my recommendation is we look at establishing the BRICS Plus Science
Okay.
Council, which will be the equivalent to the BRICS Business Council, but focusing on sciences and science diplomacy. This will also create a mechanism where it will be easier for science advisory boards to be able to work directly with the business boards across the BRICS countries through the Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
All right, no, thank you so much. But however, the experience that we have gained, and also being as a family, because we have created the brother and sister relationship, it was even very difficult for us to leave the stage because we're taking pictures. And let's create and have that strongly relationship in terms of going forward with our science diplomacy. Yes, Africa, we can roll, we can, you know, we can just see the, so people show them that we have started, we're not going to leave it like this. Thank you so much on my side. I can hand it over to you if there's anything.
Thank you for making me stand here, because I've just realized that I had actually left my notebook. Colleagues, I think all I'm going to say is that we have hosted you enough. Can you please go? Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you. I just had to lighten your mood a little bit. I don't have much to say, except to say that in terms of the next steps, as the working group, we are going to produce a report, a very shortened version of everything that we have done. I promise you, we are not going to send you 250 pages of what happened. A shortened report that we will send to you also to make inputs on, because you have been a part of this process. And for us, I think what is important is to make sure that in that report we have captured all these learnings and more that we have had over this past 9-10 days. We hope that this is a launch pad into something that is going to be much bigger. There's more ideas that are coming up that as a group and as a team, we will have to sit with and see how we can make this process bigger. On that note, I continue to say that I thank you, and I thank our online participants that have been very patient with us. This was a beginning, and there were a lot of teething problems, and that is the only way in which we can learn to make the next one better. I also want to thank our partners. I have already done that, so I'm not going to list them again. And our team, and say, colleagues, the work has started, not ended. The work has started. Let us grow and position ourselves as icons wherever it is that we are going, and let the science diplomacy conversations continue to roll and result in a better positioning for us as Africa. Our online participants, I know that we were not always fair to you, but you're still here. And I want to give a special recognition to all of you and to say that we have seen where the problems and the glitches were, and your certificates are going to come digitally, and as they do, also your recognition and acknowledgement will come. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, on behalf of the HSRC, I will declare this program closed and wish you a good weekend and safe trips back home.